Hey everyone, this is Angela Johnson, and you're listening to the Warrior Raiser podcast. Let's be honest, raising the next generation is challenging, but we don't have to do it alone. I love connecting the Bible with the reality of our everyday life. I am so excited to have you, my fellow Warrior Raisers, with me on this journey. So let's get started learning and sharing together.
Good morning, warriors. Time to start your day. Keep your head up, marching on. Don't let nothing stand in your way. Don't let nobody tear you down. You got to proudly wear your crown. 'Cause you're a warrior, warrior.
Well, welcome to the podcast today. On the show, I have a very special guest, my husband, Derrick Johnson. Welcome to the show, honey.
Thank you very much.
Are you just so excited to be here today?
I am. When I got the invitation in the kitchen, I immediately walked over to your studio just to listen in and participate as best I could.
That's right. You're on your P's and Q's today. No, in all sincerity, I did not think that the podcast would be as powerful without your voice, because without you, there's not a duo in our parenting life. So I needed you here to offer your wonderful perspective. So thank you for being here.
No problem.
And this is the first time you've ever been on a podcast on any kind of setting like this. But when we met, true story, we met on a blind date. But before we met, we talked on the phone, and I fell in love with your voice at first.
This is true.
And this past week, you have heard from two different people who did not know you.
Yes.
That you had a voice that was made for radio. And so I said, oh, Lord, that is confirmation. Jesus, I need to get him on the show. So here you are.
Correct.
So I usually ask all the interviewees on the show just to give us a little bit about themselves, a 10,000-foot view, who you are. I've already kind of given a little spoiler in that they know that you're my husband and that we have 3 children. But I want them to know from your words who Derrick Johnson is in a nutshell. Go.
I am a son, a brother, and as you already know, a husband and a father. I grew up in the Cleveland area, and I have been up and down the state of Ohio, and I settled in Columbus.
Yeah, so here you are, and you are a very hard worker. The way our family dynamic is that Derrick works full time and I stay home with the kids and I do ministry work, but you have long days. And so when you come home, sometimes you're tired and exhausted. And so what would you tell the listeners or the viewers that some of your struggles with fatherhood would be when it comes to being the parent that has to leave and come home?
Yeah. It's a challenge. I actually, early on, we would have these discussions where when the kids were small, when I got home from work, Angela was excited to go do something. And I explained to her that when at least in our home, when I leave, I get on my horse, the bridge comes down, I cross over the moat, I go to battle for the day. And then when I come home, I eagerly await for the bridge to come down and to cross over the moat and enter the castle again. And I'm ready to be there for the evening.
Yeah.
And the biggest struggle is that I have to be ready for anything when I get home. I have to be ready to participate with each child at the same time, individually. I have to be ready to help with schoolwork, to help with cooking, help with cleaning. I have to be ready to maintain the home in any way possible so that when I leave, it doesn't fall apart.
Well, and we pull the curtain back a little bit on the two of us. We did have some issue probably about the 4th month after our 3rd child was born. I was kind of struggling with mood and different things like that. And I found out that you had been sitting in the garage before you would come in the house because you were not fearful. You were not sure which version of Angela you were going to walk into or the chaos. And oftentimes you hear it said that the mom is the gatekeeper of the home, and our attitudes and we affect the environment of the home. But I think that dads are equally as influential in that same respect. So there was a season where you would come home and I would just be like, oh, thank God he's home. Here, I'm passing the baton to you. And that was hard for you because you had just been 100% go, go, go all day at work, and then you came home.
Yeah. And to be fair, it wasn't that I was trying to figure out which version of Angela I was going to walk into, or even the kids, but I also needed a moment to leave my day
Yeah.
on the field and separate it from home. I used to think that getting up and going to work was a challenge. Now it's closing the garage door after I pull in, because you have to be ready to give of yourself wholly and completely, because your family is waiting for you and they need you, and they want you involved. So the time I spent wasn't just to get my mind right, but it was also to focus
Yeah.
and to be intentional, because I knew that if I came in, well, actually the kids told me that one day. I asked them, how does daddy come in the house? And they said, well, sometimes he comes in as a mean daddy and sometimes he's happy. And I thought, oh gosh,
Yeah,
that's
that
awful
gotcha.
that we're even having this option. So I knew that I needed to make some changes, because I didn't want their childhood memories to be of me coming in angry, stressed, or complaining about work, life, or others. So I made a concerted effort to come in, ask them to tell me funny aspects of their day, ask them to participate in silly questions, because I wanted them to be a little creative in how they looked at things. But I also wanted them to see me as a positive but unique influence in their lives, and engaged and listening.
Well, and I also had to do my part in creating the environment for you to be able to come in. So whatever I was doing, I would make a conscious effort to stop, because you and I had a conversation one time that you said that the dog greets you better than I do. And that was hard to hear, but where we are in our relationship, I was able to, I probably snarked back, probably instantaneously, but in maturity and growth, I've gotten a little bit better to process that information. And I thought, he's right. I should stop and make an effort to greet him and let him know that I'm happy to see him, because that's the rule that we have right now within our family. You leave, you go to work, and I stay and I manage the home. And then one's not harder than the other or easier than the other. It's just different. And
Yes.
I have been a working mom too, so I can speak to that. But there were some things that we had to adjust to make sure that our attitudes weren't influencing the rest of the time at home. Because you and I have talked that your time at home with the kids is so compressed.
It is. And to be fair, I'm very good with dogs. So please don't think that the dog was at any rate.
Yeah.
But
It's okay.
I remember there was one time that we were cooking in the kitchen, and Angela reached for something, and I was getting ready to do something, and I looked at her and I said, we're on the same team.
Yeah.
She played basketball in college, and she instantly knew what I meant by that. And we had a slow process of where we had to stop fighting for control,
Yeah.
fighting to see who was right or more right or even more right, and losing that desire to jump on my phone and I'm going to double check and see if she was right. She was wrong. Ha ha. We had to let go of some of
Pause
that
here.
competitive drive.
You were also a high level athlete as well. So we have a lot of competitiveness in our home, in our marriage. On our honeymoon, I think that was the last time we ever played chess.
We've played chess twice.
And yes, we know this of ourselves. Yeah. Okay. You won. To the people that aren't watching, he's mouthing the words "I won" behind me. So
yes,
yes, congratulations, you won. But no, to that end, when he said we're on the same team, that has kind of now become a hallmark in our relationship, where there might be tension or strife related to something parenting issues.
That's right.
Where I've been battling with one personality all day long, and you're coming home and you're trying to offer more grace. And I'm like, you don't understand, that little one has been a little all day long.
Mm-hmm.
But to know that, hey, I'm here. Let me pass the baton carefully, gently, because we are on the same team.
The win at home is more important than getting your name in the paper. And it's hard to do. Sometimes you want credit for doing the laundry and doing the yard work and helping with the schoolwork, and then ordering gifts for birthdays coming up and things like that. But it doesn't matter when you're paired, and the sum is better than the individual parts. So
same team, baby.
We had to restructure aspects of how we viewed each other, how we communicated with each other, how we planned our calendars. We became very intentional, not overly organized or meticulous, but just inclusive, where we prioritized the other's participation so that it didn't get lost.
Yeah.
Another thing that we're intentional about is how we fight fair. Well, I shouldn't even say the word fight, but when we disagree, there are times where
sometimes we fight.
This is true. Sometimes we fight. Yes,
I'm Italian, it comes with the territory.
yes, and
so we've learned to.
We are both type A. We're both know-it-alls. We are both aggressive hard workers. And we are both firstborns. We're confident in the product we put out. And as a result, we don't like to be challenged. And especially by each other, because we want the other to trust us. Yeah. Sometimes it is just about trust.
Can I pause here for a minute and tell a story? Derrick and I were invited one time to give a talk on marriage at a group. And in our preparation, he knows exactly where I'm going to go with this. In our preparation, we both had notes, and then we came together. How many years ago was this? Probably like 6 years ago. Yeah. So we had both prepared notes, and then we met to discuss perspective and who was going to say what and how we would volley it back and forth. We could not agree on whose notes were the most efficient set of notes. So we both showed up to this talk.
Yes.
With our own set of notes. So that's just a sneak peek into how far we've come.
I liken it to not being able to agree on a dessert to bring. So she brought cake and I brought cookies. So we just smashed the cookies into the cake is what we did. So
and it tasted delicious.
It was fantastic.
It was delicious.
Yes.
So we've learned to play off of each other and fight fair. And there's a couple things that we have learned from some of our mentors along the way, because you and I did premarital counseling. Mm-hmm. We've talked about this with many couples that we've had the opportunity to counsel or talk through sticky situations early on in their marriage or even halfway through. There's so many things in life that we prepare for.
That's right.
I mean, you've trained for many things, school, education, sports, and and there's many things that we practice and we train for, but we don't do. Western culture doesn't do a really good job of preparing for marriage, and that's probably why we see so many fail. Mm-hmm. But one thing that we learned, and I'll let you share with what we learned in the premarital counseling, and we've actually carried it through to this day, and we've taught it to our children as well.
Yes. When you disagree, hold hands, and not side by side, but facing each other, holding each other's hands, have the argument, have the disagreement, have the discussion, and your word choice, your tone, your inflection will change when you're holding your mate's hands. And it's just a good way to protect from saying the scathing, biting comment as you walk away into another room that you will regret.
Yeah. It's hard to be just so hateful or angry or say nasty words to someone that you're holding hands with. And there have been many times that he has been the one that has said, come here, let me have your hands, because he's been able to get to that maturity line quicker than me. And I go begrudgingly rolling my eyes, just, here, fine, here.
Yes, that's literally
paw them into his hands. And that leads to the other thing that we do when we come to a disagreement. We kind of have this rule between the two of us that whoever
laughs first kills the argument. So you can be fighting about where to go for dinner, and get upset, turns into an argument about where you put your shoes or whatever. And if you can make the other person laugh, argument's over. You can't be mad and laughing at the same time. So,
and to give this a healthy perspective, it's not like if we're talking about something intense and we
no.
laugh and we never revisit it. But what it does is breaks the barrier down,
Mm-hmm.
allows for a softening of hearts and a coming together of minds, so we can have a reconciliation of idea, heart, thoughts, whatever. And that's one thing that we're passing on to you today, because it has been a vital tool in our marriage arsenal. And we've taught it to our children too.
And the third thing is, and maybe this is just with age or too many responsibilities, if you can't remember what you were fighting about, the argument is over.
Done, and dead. Doesn't count anymore.
I have woken up with my brow furrowed, searching for a reason. Why I was so passionate about this, and I can't remember. So then I have to kiss her on the cheek and go to work. So,
and you know the verse, "Don't let the sun go down on your anger."
Yes.
I don't.
You can, welcome the sun right on in. Usher it by, or usher the moon on in.
The Lord is working on me in certain areas. That might be one. So I will fully admit that I have not yet arrived. But I can go to sleep and just roll over. Peace out, homie. Good night. This one over here.
I'm staring at the ceiling for
he'll
hours.
Perseverate. But the thing is, when you come back together, even if it's not done in a biblical way where one should not go to bed when the sun goes down in anger. But when we come together and we're like, what was that stupid fight over anyway? Like that, we just need to get to the place in relationship where we can be mature and recognize that. And that hasn't happened overnight.
No.
No. But it's not like we want to come here and air every little thing, but we want to just offer some hope and perspective. And this whole ministry was birthed out of this desire to raise this next generation in the knowledge of Jesus Christ. And it starts in the home first. And if you are married, it starts with the example that you're presenting to your children with your mate, because they will see, they will witness so much more than you will ever teach them. So to model it well is key. Do you have any last things that you want to say to the listeners? Just so you know, you're going to be back on the show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm signing you up for some more interviews.
Hit that like button. Let her know you love me out there.
That's a really good idea. If you have questions for the doctor, not medical related, but just marriage and all things related, ask Derrick, ask Dr. Love here. Ask if you have questions for Derrick or myself, go ahead and type them in the comments on the podcast. We do have an option for you to call in or to leave messages, and we would love to answer your questions. But no, I sincerely want you back on the show. You just are, you just have so much goodness to bring. And he's like, oh gosh, where is this going?
So I have a goofy personality, and if you don't know me, I'm goofy. I like to see people laugh. So please, just come along and get to know me.
Tell them what the t-shirt, you were going to wear a t-shirt on camera. Tell them what t-shirt you wanted to wear that I gave you a flat out veto. Absolutely not. What is it?
The irony is that she bought me this t-shirt.
Truth.
And I will not tell you what this t-shirt says, because I will wear it someday.
Well, now you've left everybody hanging.
Exactly.
So they gotta come back and watch.
Isn't that what they do in radio?
Yeah.
I should have done it in my radio voice.
Yeah, let's hear this radio voice. Any last things that you want to let them know before we sign off here today?
The one thing that Angela and I have talked about is, in our marriage, as we try to be an example to each other and to our children, win at being a good spouse. Don't worry about whether you're winning. If I clean a bathroom, do some dishes, throw in a load of laundry, and I don't hear one thank you, know that you're winning, and it pleases the Lord that you are putting your spouse first. Don't worry about if if the other says, you're such a great wife or husband because you did this for me, or you always remember this, remember it and just count it as a deposit into your spouse. There'll be a day when you might need that same thing in return, and you hope that they'll remember your generosity and pay you back. So,
because we're held to our own accountability.
That's
I'm
right.
not held to your standard. When we give an account before the Lord, I'm not going to be able to say, but God, Derrick did this, that, or the other, or didn't do that, this, that, or the other.
Yeah.
He's going to look at the reel of my life. He's going to look at the reel of your life and see if what we've done with it and if we've stewarded it well. And that includes marriage, it includes parenting, it includes every thought, every word, every action, every deed. So that is
right.
beautiful advice. So I thank you for being here with me on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
But thank you for all of the listeners, all of the viewers, to all of our fellow warrior raisers. Aim your arrows well.
Hi, this is Elliot Johnson. Thank you for listening to the Warrior Raiser podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you want to support my mom's show, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.